So on this video, I'm going to just have a walk around again and show you the garden as it is at the moment, because within 2 or 3 weeks, I intend to start the cutback. And as you can see, the whole garden is looking absolutely stunning still. The grasses have got a big part to play in that. It just looks good. These dead grasses just have so much to offer, especially miscanthus types. This one here is probably my favourite medium-sized grass, and it's called China Clover rubra, and it's now fully mature, and it's fantastic. I love it. I've got several of these around the garden, so if you can get hold of that one, I suggest you do get hold of it. It's do all right. So as I've said, there are things that are going to need cutting back pretty soon. The Calamagrostis, Cal Forsters, down there at the bottom there, we'll go down there in a minute and have a look at those. They're going to need cutting back within the next 3 or 4 weeks, because everything is starting to grow. There are certain things that won't be growing at the minute. This is one of them, Miscanthus giganteus, and this is jubilaris, so it has that sort of striped creamy leaf, and it looks really nice. And I've said this year, just to show you, I'm going to do a bit of an experiment to show you. It should work, hopefully. I'm going to show you what happens when you leave it alone. So just bear with me on that one, and it should look good. And I'll show you, and you'll be amazed what it should do. Touch wood. So the euphorbia's still doing the thing. They're all starting to set flowers, and I said before that I hope this will set flower this year, because it's not flowered at all last year. I'm just having a look at it now, and I'm not hopeful it's going to this year, to be quite honest, because usually there's already a sign that it will do. And look at that, you see, and this is why plants like this are important. Can you see the ladybird sat in the background there? So important. Now, I talked about this one and saying that this is my own Malachi, and that it was a chance seedling that I found, and I kept it because it was a lot bluer than all the other seedlings I had at the time. And I liked it. I gave it to my nephew, who had the instructions to bring it back to me, should he no longer require it. And he did. He did just that, so that's good of him. Just going around, there's quite a few ladybirds in, actually. Look at this. That's why these plants are so important, because they give protection to these type of things. Now, I decided that I thought it was probably purple and gold, because one of the parents, or one of the plants I had at the time, was purple and gold, and it looked very similar. But because I haven't had purple and gold for at least 10 years now, I cannot remember what it truly looks like, and try as I may, I can't find purple and gold. No one seems to have it. It's a difficult one to get hold of, but I have noticed that we've got another type, euphorbia. It's called Euphorbia martinii, and I bought some new ones to plonk in, some baby ones, and I've noticed that martinii also has the similar sort of leaf colour, like that, at the top, at the moment. It's very similar. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that could be one of the parents. However, martinii doesn't get as big as this. This is a lot bigger. Martinii is more likely, unless I'm wrong, sometimes I'm wrong, but I don't think I am on this occasion, that's black pearl. So martinii gets about the size of that. In fact, we can show you martinii in the garden. But when they're little, they have that same colouring, because I bought 5 pots of it to spread around the garden, because I love euphorbias. I want them all around the garden. I've got some big moles going on at the minute. Now that's all this spoil from when I dug out the patio area. So this one here is martinii, and it has more of a red stem to it, as you can see, but it's not showing that same colour. But on the baby ones, it does. It shows the same colour. It's a nice one. So all that soil's got to be moved. There's lots of chopping back in here. I don't show this enough at the moment, but I'm going to show you this Pittosporum. It's called Garnettii, and to me it's one of the most hardy ones. And I talked about this before, where it would produce this reddy pink tinged leaf, which it's done now. When it gets cold, this is the sort of leaf it produces. This is what happens to the leaf, rather, and it looks great. Now, it has a very heavy scent to this plant, people don't realise, but they're tiny little blacky brown flowers within. They're not there yet, but what's happened is it's lost all of its leaves higher up, and it does this when we get a cold snap. And the likelihood is that these bits are dead, Yeah, they are. But the good thing is that this plant has a good habit of bouncing back. And it will bounce back, hopefully. And I've put it in quite a protected area. So hopefully that'll be okay. Now, here's some damage from the frost we had. These ones here, this is another Euphorbia selected seedling, and it is quite damaged, that. I'm not worried about them. Anything like that, I will take off and I will tidy the plant up. I've already tidied it up at the end of summer. Oh, look, we've got more ladybirds. Again, evergreens, you see, they help. They help with it. Now, this is what they should be producing. The Malachi should be producing this. And this is the start of the flower. Now, this particular selected one has a huge flower, and I mean big. There must be about, I don't know, 8 inches tall, the flowers on that particular one. And it's a really, really good Wolfenii type. So this is Thamna calmus. And I showed you this before. It has this blue tinge, and then the new growth is a reddy brown, continues to be that colour until it gets a more mature plant, and then it produces more of the blue blooms. Eventually the whole plant should be more blue. The new growth will be red, and then over time that thickens up, and then it produces the blue bloom. Now, it's had a bit of damage because we had those frosts that I talked about before, and it's kind of knocked it back, but I said it'll be fine, it'll pick back up, and it is. It's already picking back up already, and it's looking good. Now, there'll be nothing to do to this, so on the cutback I'm not likely to do anything to that. I'm likely to leave it. The only thing I would do as summer comes in is I will take some of the smaller ones out. I will take things like that, will disappear completely. That'll be gone in favour of the bigger ones. And don't forget, each year we get bigger and bigger culms as they push through. So, yeah. So the grasses have got to be dealt with. This is a giganteus, believe it or not. That's a Miscanthus giganteus. The ones you see in the field, just the green-leaved ones. And they are lovely. But that's not got to size yet. So we're just going to wait a bit longer, and then we'll chop that down, because it's not offering out at the minute, except protecting the insects. And as I say, you need to protect the insects so that the birds can come in and find those. So we'll see what happens with them. A lot of the Miscanthus need cutting back. They're still looking absolutely fantastic. This isn't a Miscanthus, this is a Calamagrostis emadensis, and it's getting to become a mature specimen now. I think I'm going to split that this year, because I want to produce more plants. This is a Helenium. It's a Carl Forster type. I'm trying to remember its name, but I can't remember the name now. And it's one selected by the famous plantsman Carl Forster, and it is a really nice one, that really strong and good, and you can see it's already producing new growth at the base. I've left it this long, and I will be cutting it back soon. Still not decided what to do with this Catina, still not made my decisions. A bit longer yet to decide what we're going to do with that. I'm not worried too much about that. Now, this is Miscanthus lutaria riparis, the big massive one. Yes, it looks dead, and the leaves are dead. I will not do nothing more than chop those away once spring comes, and they'll be gone, and it'll start its growth again. And he's likely to make between 12 and 15 foot for me. Now, when I talked about on my last video about the next project, this is going to be the next project, hopefully, he says. This is the secret garden, and this is what I call the pillbox. So that's called the pillbox, and I need it to be a little bit more secluded. So all this is just off of what they're called. Anyway, I can't remember the name. But anyway, they're the bits of wood which were reclaimed, and I've bought them at pallets, wooden pallets, and I buy them locally. A chap strips them down, and then you buy them in packs. And what I'm going to do to it is I'm going to make it cover all of this section, including this section round here. So we're going to do all this section here. What I was going to do originally was just put wires up there, because we've got this. This is Hydrangea petralis. and that's starting its growth already. And I was going to encourage it to grow up the wires, but I've decided I'm going to cover the whole thing because it is classed as a secret garden. That's what we'll do. Now, as you know, I've got this lovely gate here, lovely door, that I'm going to turn into a gate. I'm taking off all that bottom section, straight across there, and it'll be roughly about a 5.5 foot gate in here instead. I'm going to have to do a bit of work to make it work because it's going to require some posts. And then we'll be able to close that off, and then it's just again time to catch up and grow these plants so this becomes really secret, because this is classed as a secret garden. So there's not a lot to do in this garden. There are this one here, which is commonly called the pheasant tail grass. Now it's looking a little bit shoddy. By the way, if you want something for a shady area, this will do nice for you, and it will be fine. That it's very healthy. If you want to, you can clip that back. I could clip that back down to nothing and it will come back again. I won't. I'll leave it alone. I won't mess about with it. We've got all sorts going on in here. Not too much at the moment. There's got this one here, Calamagrostis brachytricha, and it has this lovely seed head. They're still babies, these ones, so they're not massive at the moment, but they will look good in time. And again, you got a shady area, the perfect grass. So that's Calamagrostis brachytricha. Here's the shack. If you can see me in the background with my silver hair, it comes to us all. So it's looking really good. It's got a nest box up there. I've not seen any birds coming to look at it yet, but they have nested in there for the last year and a bit, 2 years, so I'm sure they're going to come back in. So there's bits and bobs that I need to keep my eye on here in this section. Most of it's okay. I've got Helleborus argutifolia here. That one there, these were already in. Now that was a seedling in my first year here. I found it as a little seedling and I put it there, and it's doing really well. And what I'm going to do is allow all those to keep growing all over the garden. It's a bit of a slow process because you've got to rope its seeds around, and I tend to not want to buy too many of those types of plant because I know they'll self-seed, and I can save a bit of money if I just leave it. It's just a bit of patience with them. If you're still with me, well done. I know I'll go on a bit, but this is going to be the last time you're going to see the garden like this, and that's why I wanted to do this video now. I wanted to show you what it's looking like. So this border here, we've got some chopping back to do. We're going to plant one of these grasses into here, and we're going to fill that up with soil. That's the Miscanthus lutaria riparius that needs containing. Remember I told you, don't be putting that in your garden if you ever get hold of it. Brachytricha, Calamagrostis that we've just looked at. Bit of a more mature specimen there. That's the sort of seed head you can expect. We're now in January, mid-January, and it's looking great. This is what grasses do, they look great. Some of these features that I've talked about are looking good. I've managed to get hold of some more of this copper tubing, some thinner stuff that I'm going to use on this. Even though this aster or symphotrichum should be okay on its own, it does tend to be a bit floppy, that one. And that's that Marina Wolkonsky. The colour is just amazing. So we'll look at that. There's a lot of stuff in this particular border, and this is the boardwalk border, and you can't see all of it at the minute. You can see a lot of dead stuff, but there's a lot of other bits and bobs that have already gone to sleep for the winter that won't be showing just yet. Now then, this is the euphorbia that I said I wasn't going to mollycoddle it. It was going to have to do its own thing. So it's euphorbia cross pasterii, and it is a more of a tender one, and I hoped it would do okay. I've had several other types of that particular one. I've never really been successful with them, and I don't know if I will be with that. We shall see. It's got the best position I can give it without mollycoddling it. It's another reason that I just like the ordinary wolf any eyes, because, you know, the one in the background there, it just looks after itself. You know, messing about. You've got the interest year round with those as well, which is really good. If you look back on my videos again, I think I've done one on how to trim euphorbia wolfeni eyes up and to prune them. They do require some sort of looking after. They won't just look that good forever. There's a little bit of clipping required, and I'll probably go through that again at some point. Here's the wildlife pond we've seen a million times that I'm really happy with. It's got a few more leaves in there, expected that. The leaves are still around, blowing in. Over time, they'll disappear. As spring comes, I should remove all what's left in there, and that should be fine then. We'll see what's going on around it at that time, because we don't know what's going to happen. So it's, in general, it's looking good, and there's not really a lot to do in this area. There's another ornamental lesoniana here. This is the pheasant tail. What's dropped in there? Cedar mylotelophaeum there. Look, Jose aubergine, which I've got. This don't belong there. It belongs over here, actually. Not doing very well for me. In fact, there's another one. It's not doing very well, but we'll keep them, and we'll get them going at some point. I've got a restio that I said I was going to trial outside, and it's not looking very good. It's supposed to be one of the hardiest. I don't think keeping it in the pot has helped, but I've done it as an experiment because I don't want to keep it in the pot forever. I'm hoping to be able to plant it in the garden. Now, if it does bounce back, I think I may end up putting it into a bigger pot and just keeping it going that way. Who knows? Now, on my last video, I said that this was Lysomachia. It's not, it's Lithrum. You just forget sometimes. This one's Lithrum blush. And I talked about the other Lithrum over the back. Let's go around and have a look at it. It's called Firecurza, and it means fire candle, and it's beautiful, and it will suit ponds or wet areas down to the ground. It's absolutely fantastic. And this is, in my opinion, this is a little bit of a better one. Blush is okay. This is superb. Quite sturdy. It's really what you call a sub-shrub, so it becomes like a shrub, but you cut it back, and you cut it back into itself. Is there any signs of regrowth? We've got grass in there, but that's wild grasses. Oh yeah, I can see some regrowth back down there, quite deep in. So that's looking good. That is going to be removed now. That's one of the things I will be moving and putting it where blush is. So it will go there, closer to the pond itself or the dip pools. And that's going to suit it down to the ground. And one thing I ain't talked about on this area is there is a hosta here called, what's it called? Oh, something woo. Anyway, it's a Chinese name. I forget the name now. Should have looked at that before I started filming this. But anyway, it's huge, great big thing, and it's massive, and it'll get as tall as this tub next to it eventually. And it's sat in there now. I don't know if I've made a mistake by putting it there. I could have done. Who knows? Time will tell on that one. And again, it goes back to this. You've got to try things, see if they work. If they work, great. If they don't work, then that's so be it. Empress Woo, that's the one. Empress Woo. Right, okay, so we've got other grasses here. And this is Girava Ichu. It's a bit like Stipa tenuissima, only better, taller, and a lot nicer. And I hope to split this year. I was hoping it would self-seed around. But I've been mulching, haven't I, with Plant Grow UK stuff, and that will have an impact on what will grow and what won't grow. Let's hope some does grow. So we've got the grasses doing well still. A lot of these grasses have got to be cut back. Like this is an evergreen. This is Cortaderia Patagonia I talk about quite often. It's one of my favourite pampas grasses. That's looking good. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of growing still to do. Oh, this one here. That's Pinus pumila. I said it was contorta the other day. I go back on my videos to have a look, and I thought that's not contorta, that's Pinus mugo. And it's a real small one. And it won't get very big at all, that particular variety of Pinus mugo. It should stay quite squat. So what else is there? I had toyed with moving this. This is Cornus. And it's starting to come into seed. Well, what are they? Yeah, they're more of a seed than they are a leaf. But it's doing all right. It'll be fine. It's looking healthy. There's a lot of stuff here to sort out. I've got to sort this border out because, as you know, I will show you in a minute, as you know, there's going to be changes there. There's a lot to change in here. Don't know what I'm going to do. with this Elianthus yet. Still haven't decided. I quite like it there. It's a bit unkempt, but I quite like it. And it looks okay, and I might just leave it. I might just leave it for now, for this year. There's a couple of grasses that I might have to move out of here. This is Miscanthus sinensis, and it's called Yakushamensis. You'll not find it. It's actually called Yakujima. Now it's changed name. I keep it as Yakushamensis because of the person who bought it off, so I can remember who I bought it off. Silver birch, Jacquemontii, the Himalayan birch. Now remember, people, that these can get to all sorts of sizes, depending, and I'm sure that a lot of these are grown from seed, raised from seed, so we can have different sized ones. Now, I cannot remember whether this was rootstocked. Cannot remember. It doesn't look like it was, but you get sort of seedling varieties, and just remember that some of them will be smaller, some of them will be tall, and I've looked at several different ones, and you get all sorts of sizes, so you need to be looking for smaller ones if you can. Now, this one is called Silver Shadow. It's quite a famous variety, this, and that's as tall as that gets. It shouldn't get any taller than that, really. And that is another Jacquemontii, but it's a selected one. That is definitely rootstocked. So if you're looking for one in particular, go for that one. That's really nice. It's a very small one, and stay small. Otherwise, you've got to take your chance sometimes with Jacquemontii, because there can be all sorts of sizes. Now, there's a lovely one called Snow Queen, which changes within 3 years to white. Well worth getting. But this is peeling lovely now. It's starting to peel, and I have what they're called bark therapy, and when it gets big enough, I start peeling these. Although these will peel themselves, as you can see, when it gets bigger, it gets dead flaky, and it's really nice to start peeling some of it back and clean it up. I see that some of the programs are showing you cleaning this, and there you go. Look, you can see what I'm doing there. It's exposing the new bark. Bits of it you can do that on, and bits of it you can't. Some of it you'll remove, like here, and that'll still be pretty much brown underneath. You can see it's starting to turn. It's not turning yet. Yeah, they can take up to 7 years, some of them, before they change. So let's have a look. So remember, this video, you're not going to see this garden again like this, because I won't be doing no more videos until we've had the final chop back. And that will include the standing out area. Everything's going to be chopped back, and this is looking fantastic. This is why I want to leave it a bit. I'm almost hoping we have another month of bad weather so I don't have to touch it, and it'll hold back the leaf. But there comes a point when we have to take these back, because the new growth is already happening. It won't hurt to cut back into that at all. It'll do just as well, but I don't want to do it till the very earliest, the end of January. But if I can get away with it, it'll be even longer if I can. I don't know. We're just going to have to judge it accordingly. Okay. Right. So there's still a lot to cut back in here. That'll happen over time. And the one thing that I told you that was going to be done is this has got to all be changed, hasn't it, this border, because of the change we're having to the house. And here we go. For those who've stood with me long enough or kept with me on the video, there's the French doors. And that is going to look absolutely superb once I've done this area. It looks great now. The doors from inside look fantastic, and they're doing just what I wanted them to do from inside, and that's give it a certain look. So I will be looking from within the room. So I'll be sat there on that settee, and we look out here, so we get this view, and this is the view I get from inside. Only better than this, because it's framed by the door. And that's why I've got to redevelop all this area here. It's got to be developed differently. One thing I've toyed with at the minute, and there's one thing I'm likely to do, is change these two plants over. This one's a Eupatorium, and I think it's called Gateway. Still not 100% sure. It's a Bressingham one. And then we've got this huge plant here, which is Persicaria polymorpha. It's huge. And it does cause problems for me sometimes, because it does cover up other plants, and you can see just from its size that's what it does. So I'm thinking that actually what I'm not going to do is move that sheep ring feeder anymore. I'm going to just take the two plants out, swap them over, because the Eupatorium, I've got another place where I can put that, and that Persicaria is a bit of a monster and does tend to, although it doesn't flop, it does spread itself out. Always from the central section there, like you can see. It's not a monster, it doesn't grow all over the place, but it would be better suited to that. So that's what I intend to do. So there you go, finally they've been put in, and it's looking fantastic, that. So I look forward to it. So that's it, we better end it there because we're at 25 minutes. So that's pretty much the last video I shall show in this state. The next video you're likely to see could be another month away, to be honest. I might do a little video on how to look after certain plants, but apart from that, I probably won't be doing a full garden one. There's the new patio area. Not strictly a patio, it's just a seating area really, with the outcrop, the rocky outcrop. That's looking good, and that will continue to look good. Evergreens, areas like this will always look good no matter what time of year. But the rest of the plants, the next time you see it, the grasses, they'll all be gone. And if you want to see it as it is, you'll have to keep referring back to this video, or you're going to have to look at me other ones. I've been looking at them myself just recently to remind myself how it looks in the summer, and you just forget how good it looks and how many different plants I've got in there. And remember, people, there's not just flowers. The gardens aren't just about blousy, pretty flowers. They're about longevity, really, keeping it going. Grasses cause that, euphorbias, evergreens, shrubs, trees. Don't just look for your blousy flowers, you know, your blousy hydrangeas. And I know a lot of you like them, but I can't really stand the blousy hydrangea types. I do like hydrangeas, I've got certain types, but it's like dahlias, I really haven't got time for them. They're from Mexico, they take a lot of looking after. You've got to lift them 9 times out of 10, especially up here in the middle of England. We have to lift them or protect them heavily with a mulch, which I don't mind doing if I was really into them, but I'm not. So I'm not going to waste my time. And don't forget, flowers are very fleeting. Look for plants that have got a good shape, good structure, and a longevity. You won't go wrong with these types of grasses, China clover rubra and the euphorbias, wolfenii eyes. They're pretty much evergreen. Well, they are evergreen, so they keep the show going. So I've waffled on a bit, and probably most of you have gone by now, but for those that stuck with me, you got to see the new French doors. And actually, while we're here, we also had these windows done. They were redone because it is an Art Deco style house, and the windows that were in it already were pretty terrible. But we've improved them, we've improved the look. So I get to look out there. That's where my art room is. I get to look at all this. It's lovely. That's why I end up coming out and changing things. There you go. So that's the last view you're going to get of it as it is. Let's see what the next video brings. It certainly won't be that look. I'll talk to you later. Ta-da.